America is still so sexually oppressed. Isn't God's gift to humans the orgasm? Said a co-creative director of the sexual wellness brand Mod and actor Dakota Johnson. If you were looking at her Instagram stories over the past few months, you might have noticed that she promoted a vibrator to her fans. However, the road to becoming the open, straightforward, and self-aware person she is today wasn't all sunshine and roses. Her parents are wild living stars Melanie, Griffith, and Dakota Johnson, whose addictions and marital strife couldn't help but scar her childhood.
No, there are times when I wish I had, really cherished my teen years. And
Yeah,
I grew up really quickly.
Yeah.
In today's video, we guarantee you a roller coaster of emotions. Beware. Dakota Johnson, born in Texas and raised nowhere in particular, was destined for an unconventional life. Her parents were on filming locations for long stretches of her childhood, and Dakota tagged along. But she didn't just grow up on the sets of famous movies and TV shows. She also had to somehow study there. Young Johnson can't count the number of schools she attended, a few months here or there, or the number of childhood friendships that sadly slipped away. Add her parents' addictions to pills and booze, her dad's notorious womanizing side gig, and mix it all with growing up in the public's eyes. You'll get a cocktail that resulted in her attending therapy at the very young age of 3. Young Dakota had to deal with her parents' separation and their well-publicized struggles. I was so consistently adrift and perplexed. I didn't have an anchor anywhere. She played a constant game of back and forth, living between her mother and father's homes. But school proved to be the biggest challenge for the future actor. If she didn't have a stable school, no friends, and parents that split, how could she concentrate on learning? Indeed, it was a challenge, and she hated studying. Dakota never really learned how to learn the way you're supposed to as a kid. I thought, why do I have to go to school on time? What's the point when you're living in Budapest for 6 months while your stepdad films Evita and you go to school in your hotel room? Johnson downplays the fact that her mom and dad were the Brad and Angie, especially now with all the legal battles of their era. But she realizes her childhood was at least different from that of the average high schooler. Her dad was doing Nash Bridges in San Francisco, while her mom and her stepdad were shooting movies all over the world. Surely she loved the traveling and adventure bits.
My first movie was Crazy in Alabama.
Good experience?
My stepdad directed it and my mom played my mom, so it was just like home.
But there's a jagged side, or as Dakota puts it, a mind fuck, to refracted fame. I feel like you learn how to do school in 2nd grade through 5th grade. During those years, I was never home. After years of on-set tutoring and homeschooling, her parents sent her to an all-girls Catholic boarding high school, which she thought she loved but turned out to hate. I was miserable there. It was a great school, but girls in that concentration are so horrific, just horrific. Instead of having discipline and stability, teenage Dakota was a target of bullying. Mean Girls isn't just a movie, because her parents' problems were broadcast in tabloids for her classmates to see. Johnson had to deal with unwanted and aggressive behavior. Eventually, she got her dad to set her free. Next, it was off to the artsy New Road School in Santa Monica, where Johnson whiled away high school sketching. I would get so bored after a while. There are only so many ways you can draw a naked woman or man. There are only so many penises I can see and draw. The hardest part was dealing with the slings and arrows aimed at her family again. Unfortunately, the bullying continued and intensified, with girls bringing magazine clippings into school about her parents' substance abuse issues. I think people, especially the press, like to pick on children of famous people. And I think that's fucking awful, she says. Things get made up, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it as a 16-year-old. There were rumors that Dakota spent that time in rehab to deal with her own addictions. But she has denied it, which makes perfect sense. A couple of years earlier, Johnson realized she was struggling with depression. That was when, with the help of professionals, I was like, oh, this is a thing I can fall into. She continued, I guess I have a lot of complexities, but they don't pour out of me. I don't make it anyone else's problem. Unsurprisingly, at first, she tried to deal with everything in her own way. Her wildness that was always present now only intensified. Dakota struggled with the headline-grabbing fame of the clan and would get into all sorts of trouble, which included getting a series of tattoos that, of course, at the time, was a strong indicator of a rebellious teenager.
I regret some of them because they're
Why?
just silly now.
Oh, like what? What sort of silliness are we talking?
Well, it's like too serious. There's one on my arm that says actions, not words in Latin.
Oh, no.
I didn't abide by rules very well. I was like a wild, feral little child. I didn't have a problem doing anything. The secret is I have no shame. In her own words, she was a disaster. And for a long while, the future star thought there was something wrong with her brain. Later, she realized that it just works differently. During the time she was going to school in Santa Monica, Dakota started her modeling career. For the first time in her life, she had a stable address for a few consecutive years. She was able to move herself and her then-boyfriend to an apartment in West Hollywood. Following her high school graduation, she had applied to a single college, Juilliard, New York, for which she rashly performed monologues by Shakespeare and Steve Martin. Juilliard and I mutually agreed that it wouldn't work out, Dakota recalls. Back in Los Angeles, she began auditioning, and a break came when she booked what turned out to be a memorable cameo as Sean Parker's Stanford one-night stand in The Social Network. Film was always the best way to engage Johnson, and she escaped to a make-believe world all so willingly. Movies she would watch over and over included Mary Poppins, Home Alone, Beetlejuice, and later all of Bernardo Bertolucci and John Cassavetes. She studied ballet until age 16, but always imagined a career in acting. "I thought, this is just what my family does," she said. "It's like my dad's a lawyer, so I'm a lawyer, except that it doesn't usually work that way." Dakota decided to go into showbiz by herself, without the influence of her family. Tippi Hedren, her grandma, famous for Hitchcock's The Birds, allows for the possibility that it's the genes.
Yeah, she was encouraging, and she's, she's always been really honest and firm about standing up for yourself.
However, she didn't push Melanie into films, and Melanie didn't push Dakota, saying, "I think neither of us is the type to push." They never discussed the negative aspects of the business, though. Tippi thinks she's not good at advice. Still, she didn't fail to share that it's important to do different things in life, to have a sense of balance. Elaborating on many of the stories about Johnson that keep mentioning she spent 30 days in a Malibu rehab center for substance abuse as a teen, she swears it never happened. "My parents had some problems of their own that put me in a position of having to deal with very grown-up stuff at a very young age," says Johnson, obliquely hinting at both of her parents' well-documented alcohol issues. "I needed some help with that, therapy-wise, and in turn, as a child, you trust someone and then they fuck you over." Given all that, why would she follow her parents into the family business? Dakota thinks there's a part of her that feels like there is nothing else she can do. Convincing herself that she is good at what she does took some time. Finally, she began to pursue the world of make-believe in 2008, but a lack of experience in a case of famous daughter syndrome amounted to a self-sabotaging spree. "I was 18 and I would freak out. A part of me that really didn't know if I was capable. Comedy saved her."
Leslie just broke my dress. Okay, so, well, it's not like nobody here hasn't already seen my boobs.
2 years later, she found herself auditioning for Judd Apatow. Dakota came in to read for girls, and it was amazing. Just naturally hilarious, he said. Unfortunately, they didn't have a part for her, but she made a big impression. At the time, Apatow's friend Nick Stoller was looking for someone to play Audrey, Jason Segel's manic, way too young girlfriend in the 5-year engagement. The Apatow/Stoller world revolves around improv, something Johnson had never done in her life, but she was a natural. She built that whole character. That's when they realized Dakota is going to be a movie star. Stoller just kept adding scenes for her. I've had that feeling with Chris Pratt and Mila Kunis, and I had it with Dakota. A sense of humor is key, and she's really pretty. To find that in one actress is rare. It's like Meg Ryan. It is precisely the complexities that came with the wild and hectic childhood that has propelled her forward in her career. For instance, in the 2020 film The High Note, Johnson stars as Maggie, an overworked personal assistant to Grace Davis, played by none other than Tracy Ellis Ross. Her character is so emotional and so open, But Johnson didn't want her to get totally blown over by the wind. I think, especially for women, it's such a hustle all the time. Maggie's vulnerable, but it never stops her from going for the thing that is the most important to her. While her co-star in the film, Ross, told the magazine that Johnson knows where she is and who she is and isn't afraid to speak up, she wasn't always this assertive. For a long time, she would do a film and have no say. She could go into something and it'll be one thing, and then it comes out as a totally different thing. As an artist, you're like, what the f***? She always wanted to have her craft, her artistry, and her ideas respected and tossed around. Dakota wanted to be part of the process. It turns out dreams do come true. As the actor began engaging more in producing movies, Johnson will serve as an executive producer on several films under Tea Time Pictures, a company she herself co-founded. Despite success on the big screen, Dakota Johnson sometimes still feels like she's figuring things out. Sometimes my life can be so suffocating, like I don't have a handle on it at all. But I have such an obsession with making movies that I probably will always do that. As for the press and the pressure of fame, she revealed there are some days when she can do her thing and be out in the world. And then there are other days when it's totally not okay, and she wants to crawl into a hole and die. However, as she's matured, Johnson has, quote, learned to be comfortable with my life being in constant flux. And that's all we have for you today. How would you feel with a roller coaster of a childhood Dakota had? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for choosing Rumour Juice. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell for more stories that will slightly, and not so slightly, blow your mind.